August 21st, 2021. It's raining here really bad. In fact, my socks and my shoes got wet. Alexander, Benjamin, Dan came to pick up his printer that Grandma bought him because he's going off to college. I won't be there because I'm having a problem with the rapist and the shitbags that I'm stuck with. So my sons came to visit. It's like a prisoner's visit, but here's the deal. I'm like, I have to pass Alexander specific information. I have to pass Benjamin specific information. I have to have Daniel witness specific behavior for parallel dimension. I don't trust Lou and Lynn, and they keep shutting me the fuck down when I try to speak into IQ and GQ and feed my children. It's really disgusting behavior of grandparents. They had nothing to contribute me. I've earned nothing in New York. Everything I own is from parallel dimension elsewhere. So I said to, in training elsewhere, so I said to Benjamin, so anyway, so in that titer, so I'm now being prevented when they come to visit. I truncate what I need to teach them in police and policy. And then as I go to speak and to teach them a different abstract thought pattern in order to process their daily whereabouts, the fucking shitbags Lynn and Lou are like, oh, shut up, or Lou has got to like yenta his way into my fucking business because he's so fucking useless, such a fucking shitbag. And then I've got, so I can't even like speak to my children, and my children fucking tune me out. I'm like, okay, so now my shitbag fucking kids won't listen to me. They're in cahoots with the shitbag fucking grandparents that fucked me over. And I'm stuck in the fucking middle with a meter that's important in cryptocurrency for me to pass wisdom nuggets to Alexander minimum and Cat Scratch for Old MacDonald still has a farm. It's just not with humans on it. So, I've got Benjamin who's got transverse issues. I've got with the Turks. And I was like, Ben, your grandfather... Alex didn't know his grandfather's middle name. And I was like, right, yeah, no, I got that. I was like, I'm sorry, that just came out. I was like, Ben, your grandfather. I was like, his middle name's Otto. You ever heard of the Ottoman Empire? He's like, yeah. I was like, great, it's Turkish. Alex and I are the Austrian Empire. We have a problem with your folks. Except part of my family is involved in the Turk Empire. But now... your grandfather dirtied it up. It's a world partnership. There's oil, there's rigs, there's big solicit deals that go on, and then there's problems. I was like, so you heard of the Ottoman? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, fine, good enough for me at the moment. Alex, I was like, you're strictly Austrian Empire for the moment. I'm not sticking you in the middle of the Turkish, deceit and design of shitbags at the moment. So, since, the Roemers just fucking dirtied it up, and Tia Friel's McDonald's not really fucking helpful at the moment. Alright, so... I said to, so I was trying to speak to the kids, they kept fucking shutting me down. I'm not worried about Danny. I told Danny he was a dwarf star. Now, in real things, there's beautiful origami. Ben at least knew that much. There's origami, which is when you take one sheet of paper, looks like nothing, and then you fold it into a beautiful design. I was like, good, stick with that it's a beautiful design, or at least it's supposed to for your mixed bag of issues. I was like, and just know that your mom has Death Star issues going on with your people and the rape. So So then I said to, because Alexander's father wasn't a rape. Just wasn't. And Nucci's real father, again, wasn't a rape. But Daniel and Benjamin's was. Alright, so. And Ben's is like a, at this point, because I've got to fix shit. We're in a Death Star, and it's a time's a ticking. So now I'm like, alright, so Benjamin, I was like, Lou finally fucking went away. Thank God. I'm like, alright, so there's something called cosmology, and astrology. Has something to do with the zodiac and the sundial. I have a sun and moon and stars contract. I was like with somebody by the name of Nicholas. My father even admitted his real name is Louis Nicolas Cataruzza. Francis was a confirmation name he took. So I'm like, oh, so then Louis, you know that I was to marry a Nicholas. So you're confirming you knew that before the rape, because there was, and Lou's like trying to talk over Benjamin's shoulder. He's like, no, there was supposed to be a Jason. There was never ever a fucking Jason in my lifetime, ever, Lou. And so then I said to Ben, I go, listen to me. When I was little, I had a prearranged marriage to a boy by the name of Nicholas, and his name was Niklaus Hitler. And Ben's like, I don't believe you. And I'm like, well, it's true. I don't know what else you want from me. I was like, then in college, I went to Hofstra. He sat down 2 seats over from me. We met again. And then I was happily in love. He told me to go meet him at the crazy, I think, Donkey, which when I showed up, I was sitting there patiently waiting for him when your father, Jason guy, shows up. And I told him I didn't want anything to do with him. And then finally, like, he made me feel bad, so I gave him my phone number. But then he started calling me, and I kept telling him to leave me alone, that I was happily in love and getting married to this man, to who I was waiting for. And so, and Ben's like, I don't believe that. I was like, it was before you were born, and I really don't give a shit if you believe it or not. I fucking told you the truth. I was like, it is what it is. And he's like, there's no Nicholas. I was like, so if I met like a guy named Kraft, his last name was Kraft, and he was with Kraft and macaroni and cheese, he was like, that I would believe. I'm like, I really fucking hate you Americans. I was like, anyway, I was like, well, there was, I think he took the Greek name Nicholas for Nico. I was like, but I like him better as Niklaus because it's more German. But whatever. I was like, and your father and the rape was a real big problem. And I left it at that because I haven't really talked about it their entire life. I just let it go. Jason was just dead to me. It was like he fell off the face of the earth and he never existed. Way I liked it while I was waiting for Niklaus to come for me. So, we could have done happily ever after really fucking simple in alien genetics. I didn't really need the human melodrama version. So anyway, so that happened. And then I'm like, listen, Ben, I was like, there's something called cosmology. I was like, if you strip the human skin off and you only have points of energy for the energy crisis, there is a cosmic nursery, is what we call it, of energy points. It's where we harvest gaslight point energy. And then we say, the words are that we weave it into your human existence with some form of planning and foresight and it's a beautiful sacred process. The whole system at this point is broken. It started in your genetic lineage. I had problems earlier, but then when I got raped with Jason, I was like, and forced to stay in this is what's called a Death Star. It is like a piece of origami. It's a collapsing star. That's why we call it a Death Star. The people here, capitalism for you, Ben. There's 2 forms of capitalism. Do not get capitalism and economics confused. There's currency, but then is that electric currency or is that stipend and monetary? it gets very confusing and they overlap. I was like, you have to remember, the state of New York has a capital. There's a French and Indian War. There's a civil uprising from central Mexico, we'll call it at the moment, which is actually part West Indian, Oriental Indian, and whatever else. With your mom being the French. The only French. Which is actually High Dutch and High German because I'm Austrian. I was like, and I'm really hungry for something else. I really, really hate this argument and this development. So that loops in the Hungarian and Austrian Empire to overtake this Ottoman problem, because part of the Ottoman that was good was when I was Greek in Hellenistic, before I got a Lesbos problem and dirty Italians. Alright, and then that led into the Mexican Revolution of shitbags, but whatever. It gets electrified when you go that deep into the actuality of what happened and how did history even begin and start to unravel. So I was like, there's a, we're in what's called a Death Star now. It's an inverted energy crisis system. It's an inverted star. The star was created. I was like, Daniel is, Daniel's a different energy for me. He's what I call a white dwarf star. He doesn't come from my solar system. He doesn't even come from my energy system. He's like a reserve piece that doesn't belong in human skin. He just doesn't. So, but he has a very special function at the moment for the Turks and myself in fixing this transgression and transdescendance. Like, the ancestry is off. The zodiac dial and the sun dial literally is split off. I was like, and I know that that's complicated for you, Ben. I know you're not wired this way. And he's like, how do you know all this? And I'm like, there's some things, Ben, you just know. I was like, I was born just knowing. And he goes, I hear that about you. He's like, but I don't understand. And I go, I get that, hon. I was like, you have to remember, humans are hardwired and soft-wired into the system that they exist in. As am I at the moment. I'm telling you right now, I don't always exist as a human or human-looking, a humanoid. I was like, so I understand parallel dimension spiritual stuff, and I understand the human. And I'm telling you right now, we are in a position that's called an inverted energy system. It means that it pulls on the points of what used to be a perfect origami, and it's crushing it at the moment. The longer this goes on, it crushes the points. So it crushes the human anatomy, biology, and it does horrible things to the body and to the planet, to the point of where it won't even be hospitable to live in anymore. I was like, so that's what I inherited, was this degrading star cluster. I was like, now, Danny, I use the sickle and the star in my Soviet to represent, because they're all like, you're not a Soviet, you're not a Nazi, they're horrible. I go, listen to me. And I was like, Ben, you're a Turk. You are the only Slav. I was like, I know they say slave, but there are people who stole your history. They stole your story. They stole your history. Turks and Slavs do not come in dark skin. They just don't. I was like, but I have here in the Americas people during this chaos and during this collapsing energy system that we're in that is bone-crushingly difficult, because I can't get to a level that I need to be in because of what happened in Long Island. I was like, I have that going on. I was like, in energy system. I was like, and there's other dimensional pieces of it, but it becomes increasingly more painful and difficult to explain. I was like, but there are people who know about it. I just don't know where to find them. I've never, ever found people that have been, or humans that have been helpful. I mean, they know about it. They've written movies, books, plays. They have countries that celebrate things and important things. I was like, I have not heard of any of them in this life frame while it's collapsing on itself with me in it, and I can't get out. They don't want to acknowledge me, but they also don't want to let me out. I don't understand how that works. So anyway, so my son Benjamin's like, he's like, it's so hard to believe. I go, I get that, but there is a universe of energy that exists, which I call cosmic nursery. I was like, and that's where, like, they say old souls, right? Because you have a specific, I say porpoise, but for lack of a better term, with orca pod and great white sharks. I was like, but again, that's off topic. So he listened, and it was just me and him, no alligator. And then I said to Al, I'm like, listen, alligator, I was like, I'm Catwoman. I was like, there's gato. What does gato mean? Sure enough, my white twin dwarf was like, cat. And I'm like, bingo. I was like, it's cat. I was like, I have a female cat. I'm Catwoman. You are cat. But gato, which I make you gator. You're alligator. I was like, that's how it works. Then Lou's like, something about, Lou was trying to talk Hadron, and I'm like, oh my god. I was like, all right. I was like, well, for this, I said I'm Hyperion. And my boys were like, whoa, you know about Hyperion? I was like, I know a lot of things. I was like, I don't know what you think Hyperion means, but for when he's speaking Hadron, I got Hadron boson, and I got pheromone going on at the moment. So I'm trying to weave everything in between for you boys to get us moving. Because this is becoming hard to breathe for me, and it's becoming painful in the leg. So I explained to Alex about Gator and High German, which I call him my beautiful Russian, because I told the boys specifically, I made a big deal out of this. I'm like, the Iberian Peninsula, before there were countries and statesmen, and before humans existed, I am in charge of Iberia to Siberia. It is a big piece, it is a big corridor, but it is what I am in charge of for safety, for whatever, for my things. So when I speak as an authority for IBER to Siberia. That's Occidental Europe, and that's Oriental Europe. So it's Western and Eastern European. And so they were like, because they've heard some of these words in whatever it is that they hang out doing with these new video games and social, like, online things or whatever, and pieces of school and confirmation. But for the most part, they and I haven't had any mom's pearls of wisdom, because I wasn't supposed to have to do that in this broken glass America with the Death Star put into action, because it's self-collapsing, and there's some things I'm just not supposed to acknowledge on this side of the glass. I'm just not. So I don't know how to work this where I stay safe and I get the fuck out of here, because I really fucking hate New York. My cousin Brian, I started talking to my cousin Brian today. He had a Navy dad. And I'm like, but he died. That was Cliffy. He died at age 40. He was a Leo. We had the same birthday. I was like, Brian, aren't you like a part of like some group or something? I was like, at least you had a Navy dad. I had just had the shitbag Italian American guy. I was like, he didn't know anybody. I was like, I mean, like, again, at least you had a valise. I got a suitcase. I mean, like, and now I'm wearing a sleeping bag. I mean, it's disgusting. I don't care what they call themselves. It's merde. It's a merde at this point. I know my children are like so in love with it. I don't know why or what about it. It's a disgusting society, and it's degrading, and now it's becoming increasingly difficult to even stay upright or mobile. So I told Benjamin to be careful with capitalism. Are they fighting for something to gain statesmanship and political sway, or are they capital in the homicidal business of, I'm going to sell you homicide, suicide, and it'll turn into mass genocide, and then we'll keep the engine going in a corrupting and collapsing economics program. And that's what I'm currently caught in at the moment. I try to explain to my kids, they're iffy on whether they get it. Like, their parallel dimension, I think, gets it. I'm just not so sure their American representative that they're skinned at the moment, that part gets it or understands it. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cataruza. It's almost like the channels dug English into Americans so deep over the last 20 years that their whole world is asunder and it's on fire. And I've always been the anchor that they clung on because I stay really quiet. I don't speak. But when I speak, I expect you to fucking listen. And I expect you to pay attention and listen, because when I speak, it's the truth and it's important. Otherwise, I shut the fuck up and I really don't give a shit what you say, do, or are. What the fuck do I care? I'm just waiting for happily ever after.